Hello, and welcome to the Physical Therapy Owners Club podcast. I'm your host, 𝐀𝐻𝐭 and I've got good friend and business associate who I'm really excited to introduce to the PT world. If you haven't met him already, his name is Jake Michalski, founder and CEO of Comprehend PT, an AI company that is helping physical therapists overcome the biggest issue that physical therapists have. It's the biggest headache. It always is ranked number one or number two on any survey as to the biggest problem related to physical therapy outside of reimbursements, and that is documentation. Just a pain in the butt. It just takes so much time. And Jake is leveraging AI to tackle that. So first of all, thanks for joining me today, Jake. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Nathan. Thanks for having me on. Super excited to be here. Super excited to talk about what we're doing, but also kind of the more broad PT industry as a whole and how hopefully things are changing and documentation, the burden that it is going to be diminished soon.
Totally. That's what, oh man, that would be such a relief. I do have to say at the forefront, Jake has asked me to be part of what do you call me? Board of advice, not a board of directors, but I'm board of advisors or something like
Advisors,
that.
yeah.
An
You're on the
advisor to
advisor
his
board
company.
for the company. Yeah.
Yeah, he reached out to me a few months ago, late 2023, just picking my brain and asked if I had any guidance for them. And man, just in the last, what, 5 months that I've known you, you guys have 5 months ago you didn't really even have anybody
Yeah.
using your product, and now you've got a number of people using the product and getting feedback and making quick changes, all that new company startup kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, it's fun to still be responsive to our users, right? There's a lot of big
Yeah,
conglomerates out there, and as you grow, it's a lot harder to be responsive to users. But we're still in a phase where, yeah, every time like we customer support, it's like I'm happy about it. I'm excited to hear what people have to say, and I'm excited to make a change because you're helping me make it better. We're still nimble enough where, yeah, all the feedback actually matters.
that's cool. Tell me a little bit about what your observations are now that you are in the PT space. You've come from, correct me if I'm wrong, you come from tech world,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And we can get into your story a little bit later, but as you've changed from the tech world to see what's happening in the physical therapy space, what are your initial ideas and thoughts about the physical therapy industry as a whole?
Yeah, so initial observations are that the PT industry is pretty behind. And like I just look at some of the softwares out there, like the web PTs and like other EMRs that are mainstream, and they kind of look like they were made in the 90s at times. Yeah,
Really?
web PT has their SOAP 2.0, which is really slick, but a lot of people are still using that SOAP 1.0, which is like looks like it's from the 90s. Even like other softwares and other things that we're seeing, chiropractors are kind of like the same. They're using outdated software that works for them, which is really cool, but they don't get to take part in like the next wave of evolution, right? Some of these softwares are still hosted, and this is broader medical as well. They're hosted on site. They're not using the cloud, and they're using old machines that are kind of slow, and they're not all that user friendly. And so it's really fun because that's a huge opportunity for us to make things better, right?
Mm,
It's not like, for instance, surgeons are using potentially like an Epic, and Epic is like a whatever more advanced EHR that has a streamlined UI that is on the bleeding edge. Whereas a lot of what we're seeing in the PT space is a lot of the EMRs are just behind, and so there's a lot of room for innovation and growth, which is where we come in.
why do you think that? Why are we so behind? Because I've said that for the past 5 years. I like PT's behind in like a decade or two,
Yeah,
and it's just like, why are we so behind? What is it? Is there not enough money in the industry? Are we not? Do we not care as
yeah. So
providers for that
I
stuff?
have a few opinions on this that kind of all stem from insurance reimbursement, right? And
Right.
so in my head, if insurance was reimbursing more, then you'd see PT spending more to optimize their time to have better software, right? Yeah, if you could spend $1,000 a month on an EMR, you'd have
Hmm.
a pretty good EMR.
Right.
But because insurance reimbursement isn't high enough, you don't have the margin to spend $1,000 per user on an EMR. And so I think it all trickles down from that. I think that's the core problem.
Hmm.
But I don't know, there's a few different things at play.
I get
The
it.
PTs, yeah, they're content with what they have but it's because they don't know what's out there and what they could have. There
Yeah.
isn't room in the EMR space to kind of be bleeding edge and do all this fun stuff because AI engineers are super expensive and whatnot. So there's a lot of things at play, but I think it all stems from insurance reimbursement being too low.
Yeah. And physical therapists as a whole, from what I've seen, they don't like change a lot.
Yes, I have
They're
observed
not
that as well.
they're not the most tech savvy. Have you found?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the people are wildly friendly, super charismatic, love having conversations with them. Like they're great people as a whole. But they want to treat people. That's what I found. They want to help people get better. They went into PT not for the money, not for anything in particular. They went into PT to help people get better, a very altruistic goal. Like sometimes you see a doctor. Okay, did you become a doctor because you want people to help people get better, or did you do it to make money? What we're seeing is PTs got into PT to help people get better, and that's what they want to do. They don't want to waste time fumbling through their EMR. They don't want to waste time learning a new tool that may or may not help them become more efficient, right? They've been burned in the past. And so they're focused on their patient, focused on helping people get better. And they're amazingly good at it. There's so many technical questions where I have like, I'm not illiterate, but I can't speak at the same level as our doctor of physical therapy on staff, right? Chris, my cousin, he is the doctor of physical therapy. He's the guy that can speak the lingo and know what's going on. Where it's me, it's like that's not my avenue. I'm here to
Right.
help you become more efficient with AI. And then Chris comes in and he helps me understand what people mean by that. So as resistant to change as people might be, as not tech savvy as PTs might be, everyone is super friendly, but it's because like they want to help people get better.
Right.
That's what we've observed. Um,
Well,
yeah,
the beauty of your project, not only of your product, not your project, your product is that it not only solves that headache, but in solving that headache of documentation and doing so in a compliant manner, it gives physical therapists more time to treat and focus on the patient versus
right.
focusing, on their documentation, right? That's
Exactly.
the beauty of leveraging new technology. And as we introduce it and use it more and more and more, it should, get cheaper over time, but also get used to using it and how make it most efficient, right?
Right.
And so
Exactly.
that's what it really excites me about your product is not only does it solve a headache for most physical therapists, but it also is going to make their time more efficient.
Right. 100%. Let them do more of what they love and then less of what they don't. They don't want to, we want to make it so you don't like, I see a world one day where it's, hey, let me see my patient all day. And
Mhm.
then I go home at the end of the day and that's it. And all of the overhead is taken care of. Yeah. Maybe it's a little mic that you wear throughout the whole day that's listening the whole time. But okay, if that's what it takes, so you can just treat all day, you don't have to ever lift a finger on a computer, type a word on a computer for work. I see that as being like the ultimate. Like that's where we want to get to. And we're going to get you as close to that as we can with our current technology.
I'm at fault because I don't think we really explained what exactly your product
Yeah,
does.
it's all good. Yeah.
I'm we're
Let
like
me,
5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes into this, and I haven't even explained what you
yeah,
do. But make it really
absolutely.
quickly. How are you leveraging AI to solve the documentation headache?
Yeah, the quick version is you whip out your phone, your iPad, or your laptop, and you click record in our software, and we listen to your visit. And then after the visit, you hit our comprehend button, and we generate you a note. And like normal SOAP note, that's easy. We can do ICD-10, we can do differential diagnosis, we can recommend billing codes. We can do all that in our software. But where it really gets cool is we integrate with EMRs as well. And so we're able to look at your EMR, see what fields need to be filled in, and you click a single button, and all of a sudden your note's done in your EMR. All you got to do is read it over, make sure it's right, make sure you agree, and hit submit. Whereas in the past, it's like you're spending hours
I
in your EMR typing all this stuff, right? So we think
so
it's a
you
huge value add. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're leveraging AI for this is so I tried Dragon software,
Yeah.
30 years
Yeah.
ago, 25 years
Yeah.
ago. And
Yeah.
it worked okay, but I had to then cut and paste, or maybe I sent off my mini cassette recording of my
Yeah.
transcriptions or dictations over to someone to transcribe it and type it out,
Yeah.
get it back to me 3 days later. Whereas you're using AI to record an initial evaluation, record, or even just record a dictated note, right? And then
Yes.
integrating into the EMRs to the SOAP, as well as with the goals and the measurements and that kind of stuff, all filled in for you, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Dragon is one of our competitors, right? It's the idea that, yeah, I can do speech to text. What we found in initial testing was it's not very accurate, right? They have the power mic and they'll do speech to text, but they don't have the context of physical therapy. They have general medicine and it's just riddled with errors. And so if you're going in and fixing those errors, It's almost just as time consuming as if I would have typed to myself. If I don't read over the errors, all of a sudden you're getting a note that's full of issues, right? And so I have some like clients who get notes from doctors that are riddled with errors.
Right.
And it's like, I know that was written by a dragon. And so we solve that by giving the AI context like, hey, this is the conversation between a physical therapist and their patient. In addition, we pass through a second filter. So it's going to reword what was said during the visit in your style, in your tone, using words that you've used in the past. And it's able to identify, okay, this is a PT specific word, use that specific word and whatnot.
And that's the cool thing about AI. Not only is it taking what they're saying and integrating it into the EMR, but it is also learning along the way. Like,
Yes.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but the providers that are 6 months into, well, I don't know if you have anyone 6 months into it just yet,
Almost there.
but
Almost.
almost. But people you have 4 months into it, that system's running much more smoothly than the initial user
Yes.
because
Yes,
AI is
exactly.
learning along the way.
Exactly. Over time, it's able to learn your style, learn your tone, and it becomes perfect for you, right? And what we're seeing is it's a pretty quick onboarding. It ends up being like you instantly get a note that's generated
Right.
that's decent, but it might not sound like you right away. And so a little bit of refinement, you can get it there within a week. It's like really fast learning where all of a sudden, yeah, all I did click the button and it wrote the note better than I would have in my style, in my tone after a week of using it, which is
Yeah.
that's super cool. We love that.
That's impressive. I mean, and that was the goal back in the day, and even it is now for most owners, is if I can get my providers to walk out the door with the patient, their last patient of the day, and have no notes to take home, and
Yeah.
they're able to free their mind that way. I think, man, the amount of how do I say this? Like people would be avoiding burnout, I think,
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
significantly more if they just didn't have to do the typing, the writing, the ensuring that I wrote it correctly with all the
Right.
goals and measures and all that kind of stuff. If I could have that kind of AI scribe, that would be huge.
Right. And we see that as being a big thing in the industry as a whole, like burnout and churn within employees, and even just like over time, providers not wanting to be a PT anymore, people leaving the industry.
Mhm.
A lot of it is stemming from this documentation problem, right? It ends up being insurance reimbursement and documentation. But if we can document better, we could potentially increase reimbursement and whatnot. So you don't have to play that
Right.
game of insurance denials and whatnot. And then you get infinite hiring ability too. Imagine if you could hire and you could put on the application no notes, like you have an AI scribe doing your notes for you, right? All of a
Oh yeah, like
sudden,
if you're recruiting physical therapists, you
exactly.
say, "Hey, FYI, we use AI.
Yeah, we use
Hopefully you
AI to do
don't
your
mind that."
notes. Yeah, you don't.
That's
Yeah, you're
awesome.
not going to be taking notes home for hours on end every day. So
Yeah.
we're seeing that as being a big thing for the clinic directors when we're signing them up.
Yeah, I figure you've had to do a lot to ensure the safety of that because this
Yeah,
is an AI situation. The potentials for hacks or whatnot are there, and so you've had to put a lot of robust work into the HIPAA
security.
compliance aspect of it, right?
Yes. Yeah. So origin story of the product. It was like 5 years ago around Christmas dinner. My cousin Chris is doing notes while we're all eating. And I'm
Yeah,
like, hey, one day AI is going to help you with that. Fast forward a little bit. I had gone to school for AI, basically computer science. And I was working for a government contractor doing flight code for military planes and satellites, like stick movement of the pilot turns to the plane actually moving, and then satellites that are going to do some crazy stuff. Can't talk too deep on it, but cool stuff, but wasn't all that fulfilled. So I built my cousin Chris a proof of concept. He's like, dude, if you can make this happen, this would change the world. Okay, I had to put my head down for 6 months to make it HIPAA compliant, right? Yes, it's a cool concept, but to actually get it to market and make it usable in industry, there's a huge headache to ensuring security, right? There's
right.
more than just like everything's encrypted in rest, encrypted in transit. We're using cloud hosting that's ultra secure. There's also a lot of documentation on breach notifications and a lot of other like HIPAA stuff that needs to be in place before you can claim HIPAA security, which
Mm,
headache 6 months worth of effort to
wow,
be secure. Yeah, yeah,
it's a lot of work. Well,
yeah,
what have you noticed? Maybe you've noticed some parallels in the growing pains of your business, um,
yeah,
and maybe you've worked with enough owner PT owners to see, even though you are a completely different industry, but working in PT, you're seeing some of the same growing pains that we are as physical therapy owners.
Yeah, right. In the beginning, it's just you doing your thing, being a provider, doing your thing. And then as you try to scale and stuff, things get tricky, right? As you add people, you have inefficient systems potentially. You need to create systems to help manage the people and whatnot. And that's kind of what we were seeing. And then you hire people, and it's like, okay, how do we make sure these people are producing, and how do I make sure that I'm setting them up to win, not setting them up to fail and whatnot. There's a lot of that going on, and I don't know, task management is a huge thing. I mean, as the like original person that founded the company and stuff, my time, I get stretched super thin, so it's how do you manage that, right? Because you're supposed to be a provider, so like in at PT's case, you're the one doing the care, but then also at the end of the day, you have to go home and do all the administrative stuff, and like
Yeah.
that's a headache in itself.
And you're
And so
seeing the
for
same
me,
thing, right?
100%
Because
same
you're
thing.
the
I do end up,
CTO.
I'm CTO, I'm CEO, I'm a sales guy, I'm a marketing guy, I'm still the coder guy. So there's a lot going on. And we've grown to a point now where there's 8 or so of us. So we have people that do all of that. And so it's cool to see things taken from my hand, and like they're doing a better job than I was. And that's awesome, right? And I'm able to, like, I love seeing that. That's a cool place to be in, where hire people that are better than you and let them do their thing, right? I assume it's the same for you guys, right?
All right.
But yeah, I end up doing administrative stuff for 8 hours a day. And then at the end of my day, when there's nobody online, and I don't have to reply to support calls or help people or kind of make sure everybody's going well, I can then go back and I can code some more. That's kind of the place that I'm in right now.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
very
long
similar.
mix.
And just because I've been able to witness how you've grown over the last 5 months, I think when I talked to you, I think it was just you, or you had someone else maybe, but it was just you.
There was a time when it was just me, and then I had my cousin Chris was always around, but he
Right.
was like user zero. He was the guy that was using it, giving feedback, and then he was like the PT brain whenever I needed to pick like a PT's brain and needed help
Right.
from the PT side. I could
Right.
always go to him, but he was working full time in
Right.
a job, and then I was picking his brain. Finally got him on board, and then we got Elena on board. She's our COO. I
Yeah.
had never done sales, marketing, run a business. I was just had a cool thing that I built, and I'm a technical guy, and she was a huge help. She kind of took the second half of the business, running a business side, and that was kind of her unique value prop. That was her thing. And then I was a tech guy that was attached, and she taught me so much, and I was able to help her. She helped me, and we kind of fit together super well. So that core three, and then we
Awesome.
brought on a coder from Silicon Valley, and that's our PETA. She's amazing. She's a fantastic project manager, but also developer. And so she basically has taught me how to help man how to run a team, and how do we get it so everyone's efficient, not just a single person coding a project, right? And so now we had 4 coders, and so
Mhm.
that's a cool process in itself, but a huge thing to manage. And so
Right.
she's helped run that side of things. So there's just so much, so many different places, so many moving pieces going on, and I'm
Mhm.
kind of like constantly switching throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, where can I put 8 hours of focused energy into something specific to be a computational unit, but also the overarching manager, which is probably the exact same thing for any clinic
Oh
owner.
yeah, exactly. Well, the thing that's great about you that physical therapy owners can take away is that, and this is what I've witnessed from my perspective, is that you've always reached out to other people to get advice, to network, you name it. You've
Yeah,
reached out to me, and honestly, some of our conversations are more business focused, right?
yeah, yeah.
And like, what do I need to do next, and how do I, you're
How do I
asking
scale? How do
these
I grow?
questions, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
and I love being a part of seeing your growth. And so the mantra that I always relate to the physical therapy owners is to reach out, step out, and network. So
Yeah,
got to pull your head out of treating patients
yeah,
24 hours a day and network, right?
yeah,
And reach out to people to see, like, what do I need? Where do I need to go next? And so whether that's a coach or consultant to mentor, find something, someone, or get into a network of people who are experienced that can guide you a little bit. And
yeah.
I
I
think that's
totally
where
agree.
I've seen a lot of growth with you. We've gone over an organization board and what that looks
Yeah,
like.
that
And
was
there's a
huge.
lot more to it now than there was initially when I showed you what an org board was.
Yeah, exactly.
And right,
100%.
and how it should be set up, and that's kudos to you, is that you have reached out and found those people and looking at next steps, and now you're looking at systems and how to onboard and train and
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, and that's
yeah.
no different than the physical therapy world.
Right, 100%. And one of my somebody I met along the way, Scott Fritz, he says your net worth is your network. And or it's either that or the other way
I think
around. And
it's
it's like
flipped, but
so
yeah.
yeah, your network is your net worth. I don't know.
Right.
It's yes. And it's so true because I don't know. I don't have enough experience, and I don't know if any individual can have enough experience to really understand everything that's going on. And
Mm,
so the more people you can talk to about that have done something similar, done something like this before, you're going to get snippets of gold and everything like that they're saying. And it's like, okay, if I had to go make all the same mistakes that you made in the past that you learned from and you implemented and you're no longer making, if I had to I'll make all those same mistakes, I'm probably going to fail. And so how many people can I talk to that will give me snippets of gold as often as possible to help me grow? And it's all about the unknown unknowns, right? That's what you want to uncover in those conversations. What are the things that I don't know that can hurt me? And it's like an org board. Like I've heard of it, but I didn't realize the importance on and like how it affects growth until I kind of sat with you. And then I went through the exercise of making one. I'm like, oh yeah, I actually need this. Otherwise, things are going to fall apart as soon as we start to scale. And we were geared up to scale pretty early on because we had that conversation early on. We built that early on. And so when there were just 3 or 4 of us, we were ready to onboard 5, 6, 7 more people. And
hmm
we're still in that growth stage where that original org chart, yeah, it's changed. It's changed a
Yeah.
lot. But that's kind of the point, right? You figure out, okay, who is the next hire? Where do we need the most
Bingo.
attention? And if you're just hiring great people to do great work, that's awesome. But you kind of need to be more strategic about it.
Right. You don't want to just hire them to do anything you ask them to do. You want to hire them to do a specific thing
Yes, do
and
the
take that
thing
off
that
of your
I'm doing
plate.
poorly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
100%. Um,
Yeah. It's awesome to see your growth. And it isn't all that much different than the physical therapy owner who is looking to scale as well. Right.
yeah. Yeah, let's figure out where do we need more units. Essentially computational units, right? Do you need more providers to be giving care? Do you need somebody at the front desk? Do you need somebody to be doing marketing, right? There are
right.
so many parallels where the unique value prop, the core value proposition for what you guys do is help people get better. What I do is help people get better. I'm just software, you're just physical therapy. Those are the computational units. The rest surrounding business is very much the same.
Yep. Definitely. Where do you see, now that you've been in the physical therapy space, you've seen some of the other players in the physical therapy space? Like I've interviewed Pedro Teixeira of
Yeah.
Prediction Health. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
you've talked to him as well.
He's
Where do
awesome.
you see AI affecting physical therapy in the future? Where do you see this going?
Yeah, so I'm definitely partial in that I think documentation is the biggest burden. And so I think AI will help us be more efficient with documentation, make it so we don't have to. Unfortunately, insurance is using it to audit your notes. And so now we can kind of give you a tool to fight back against insurance. And there will always be some amount of ebb and flow between providers and insurance. And I just think that right now it is heavily favoring insurance. And there needs to be a shift back towards equilibrium where providers now have a tool that helps them be more efficient, that helps them write better notes, they get better reimbursement rates and whatnot, and do less documentation. Um, and so I'm partial. I say documentation is like the holy grail of AI and physical
Yeah.
therapy, but eventually there will be clinical decision making support, right? If
Mhm.
you're able to see here's the top 3 things that it could be given the patient's history, given what we know about them today, just make sure you check these things. Make sure that you might not be thinking frozen shoulder, but maybe it is. Like, did you rule these things out? And it'll just kind of be something to bounce ideas off of. Right
Mm.
now, AI isn't able to think creatively like a human would. It's more of an aid to help you bounce ideas off of. And I use it every day for that. Hey, I'm thinking about this. What are your thoughts? And I ask the AI that, and it spits back, here's 4 things. And sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not.
Right.
But every once in a while, 2 of those things are like, oh, interesting. Double down on that. Tell me more. Like, what do you mean by that? And then it like spurs something in my own mind where it's like, oh, yeah, let me go do that. And that's kind of a cool place to be in. And how do we leverage that to help a PT be more efficient? Um,
In their
so
care.
clinical dis in their care, right? How do we
Right.
make it so we can get better outcomes? Like that's the altruistic goal. Right
Yeah.
now, it's okay. How do we get how do we make your time more efficient? How do we make you do more of what you love? That's our goal. Whereas eventually it'll be, okay, how can we use AI to have better outcomes? How can
Mhm.
we leverage AI so that people get better faster? Like that sounds super cool to me. How can we make it so their care
Right.
is better? Um, and we're helping with care being better in that you don't have to be on a computer or writing stuff down as you talk. Instead, you can give your full attention to your therapist. But eventually, you'll see it being more for better outcomes and with enough data about, okay, these are the best activities to do given this data,
Mhm.
or given this subset of what we know about the patient, we're able to say with a 94% confidence it's going to be this, and then the other 6% is this and whatnot. That's like an eventual, that's the holy grail of all medical as well. But today we have documentation with
Well,
AI.
we're probably, I don't think the way things
I
are
think we're
going, we're
close.
probably not that far off. Do you think?
I
Maybe in a
think we're
few
close.
years?
The rate that AI is going is far faster than anyone ever thought. And
Mm.
it's a little backwards of what people thought. People originally thought it was going to take like more blue collar automation, more of the mundane work that's repetitive, and automate that. And what we're seeing is the exact opposite. It went right for creative stuff. It went for
Mhm.
image generation. It went for coding. It went for all
Content
of these
creation.
more, yeah, content creation. It went for a lot of like more white collar, weird, like jobs like that rather than bottom up. And so it's hard to say with confidence where AI will go, but I
Mm.
think it is going after high value, high ticket items like clinical decision making and whatnot as an aid to a doctor, as an aid to a physical therapist, as an aid to like that kind of thing. So, how far? I can't say with confidence what's going to happen within the next 3 years, but I will say that today I could build you something that's pretty clever that is actually going to potentially help you be more productive, help you be more creative, help you have better outcomes.
Mm.
It's just the ball is completely in your court as far as like how utilized it gets.
Right.
And then the accuracy is still something that needs to be studied over time.
Mm.
And so it's not an instant, yeah, we built a tool, here you go. There's so much that needs to go into vetting the tool, making sure it's not leading you astray, making sure it not doesn't make you dependent on it.
Right.
Rather, just it's a lever that helps you be more efficient.
I think Pedro said the same thing. And so I think that's kind of cool that you both recognize that, and that is how AI will help us take all the knowledge that's out there, all the studies, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like you said, based on the patient's history, their mode of injury, their past medical history, then they can look at those things, compare it against all the studies that are out there in the world, in the history of the world, and say,
Yep.
well, more than likely it is this diagnosis and these are the best three treatments for it, right?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
would be
These will have the best
huge.
outcomes. Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right. You know, I think a lot of people might get a little bit
Yeah.
hesitant because it's not, because the human's not involved in that. But
Yes.
like you said, I think if people looked at it as an opportunity for feedback, for
Yeah.
recommendations, and like, oh, I don't have to read all the articles all the time to stay on top of the most efficient things that I should provide for this particular case.
Right.
But
If it
AI
can
can
be
do that for
aggregated.
me
Hmm.
based on my skill set and what I know. I can take what that provides me and implement it in my care and to get the most efficient outcomes. I think
Yes.
that'd be huge. That's awesome.
I totally agree. I think that's the holy grail of
Mm.
AI in medicine, AI in like the whole medical sector. It's the clinical decision making support. I don't think it's taking the human out of the loop, especially in physical therapy. People are always going to want human interaction. They're never going to want a robot to manipulate their arm. I don't think I would ever feel maybe eventually in like 100 years we'll get there, but at least for now it's like this machine could twist me in the wrong way and like break my arm off.
And
I
never
don't really
stop.
trust it. Yeah, exactly. Right. Whereas uh, used as a support for a human to make a human more efficient, to make a human do more of what they love, that seems more in line with what it should be.
Mm. Yeah, I gotcha. Cool. So where do you see Comprehend PT being in the next year? You've already tell the audience a little bit. You're integrated with a couple EMRs at this point.
Yes. Yeah.
And where do you see this going over the course of 2024 and then going forward?
Yeah. Our main objectives for 2024 are to have more customers, obviously, but to be integrated with more EMRs and to have official partnerships with more EMRs. Right now, we have official partnerships with Empower EMR, used to be MW Therapy, and Sharif. He's a great guy. Love it. Love the team and whatnot. They're awesome. And we are happy that they're our first official partnership. We integrate with Prompt and WebPT and PT Everywhere and 𝐀𝐻𝐨, and we're working through an official partnership with 𝐀𝐻𝐨. But we want to get more of those official partnerships and more supporting EMRs. We have some meetings set up with like a Hello Note and a few other EMRs in order to get integrated. And we're excited about those opportunities. And we're excited about like the official partnerships. We want to be compatible with all EMRs. We want to get to a point where you can use Comprehend. It's the same interface no matter what EMR you're using. So say you're a traveling PT, you don't have to learn the documentation system. You just have to know, oh, Comprehend. It's common amongst all EMRs. I just record and I hit Comprehend, and all of a sudden my documentation's done. I read it over. I didn't have to figure out, oh yeah, their charting system, I have to do this, and this is kind of how they like it arranged. Instead, a clinic owner shared their Comprehend template with the traveling PT, and their note now sounds like the clinic. They have a clinic level. This is what notes generally look like.
Right. That's beautiful.
So yeah,
Awesome.
so we think that's the trajectory of growth, integrating with all EMRs, having official partnerships with the EMRs, and yeah, just getting it in the hands of more users. We want to see this widely applicable. We want to see this used everywhere. 100% market adoption.
Right.
And that's the goal. We'll see how
That's
close
awesome.
we can get.
That's super exciting. Well, if people want to learn a little bit more about Comprehend PT, where do they go?
Yes, they're going to go to www.comprehendpt.ai. They can Google Comprehend PT as well, and it'll show up as your first result. So
Cool.
super proud. Yeah, there's a lot of good information out there on AI and stuff. And we kind of aggregate and kind of show you how to use it and whatnot in a pretty concise manner there.
That's cool. And if we're silly physical therapists that go to comprehendpt.com, is it going to redirect us to comprehendpt.ai?
Yes, it will. You don't have to worry
Smart
about it.
move.
Yes, we funnel all the domains. We got like everything that was even close, like Comprehend AI Scribe, Comprehend Health, Comprehend PT.ai, comprehendpt.com. And
Yeah,
we got a lot of different domains that all funnel to the main one.
that's awesome. Well, hey, awesome. That's great. Thanks for joining me today. If people wanted to reach out to you directly, are you on the socials?
Yeah. So we got at Comprehend Health is our Insta. If you Google Comprehend PT, there's a lot of pages that'll
Okay.
correlate to us. There's a phone number at the bottom if you want to talk to us. Like you can get my personal cell phone if you want to talk and shoot me a text, whatever you want.
Sweet.
Our email's at the bottom of our site as well. So we're pretty responsive.
Cool.
We're very responsive. We're still in a phase where we listen to our customers. We love the feedback.
That's great. Cool. Well, thanks for the time today. I appreciate it, Jake.
For sure. Appreciate it. Thanks, Nathan.